Hey guys, it's Andrew from Core Magnetism here, and just in the ongoing video blog series about the masculine versus the feminine, men and women, and what we want and how that differs. Today, I'll be talking about what it is that women are looking for in a man. Okay, so these are just some suggestions to have a think about things for yourself and understand where maybe it is that you're not quite exercising your masculine side most effectively. So once again, this is for typical cases where a guy is more masculine or wants to be more masculine and is looking to attract a more feminine woman. So number one is be solid. So women are looking for that rock, that dependable rock that they can lean on, right? And so this requires you to do a few things for yourself. And number one is that you've got to know and own yourself completely, both the bad and the good, right? So to understand your own weaknesses in context, or the things that you've done in your past that you're not necessarily proud of, and own them and contextualize them and understand how those things have developed you as a person so that you can grow and develop and be a stronger and more well-rounded and grounded man as a result. Now, it also, secondly, you're going to have to understand what your boundaries are and exercise these. Now, if at any time, so women will often be testing boundaries, right? They test to see if you've got resolve, if you are solid, so they'll be pushing you, right? They'll be testing you, and if you're breaking or if you allow them to cross over what your boundaries are and go into territory where it really is disrespectful in many ways, then they're going to lose respect for you. Because what they're trying to do is to make sure that you are solid as a man. So understand what your boundaries are and enforce them, and make sure that you are calling them out, calling out women when they are encroaching upon your boundaries in sensitive territory. Okay, and thirdly, you now need to know your values and uphold them with absolute integrity. All right, so this is really important, guys, because what I see is that guys will subvert their own values just to get what they want in the short term. Now, this is a very, very short-term solution and doesn't look into the future. And also, when women see guys doing this, they lose faith in them. They feel like they can't trust them. So that the more that you uphold and stay true to your values and act with integrity, the more a woman knows that she feels like she can trust you. Okay, so even the smallest hairline crack, you imagine if you're flying at 30,000 feet in an airplane and there's a hairline fracture in the whole thing is just going to implode, and the plane will crash. That's because the plane hull didn't have full absolute integrity, right? Even the smallest hairline crack can bring the whole thing down. So you need to make sure yourself that you have no hairline fractures or cracks in your integrity whatsoever, that you hold yourself true to your values 100%, okay? Number two, be present. Now, this is one of the biggest frustrations for a lot of women, is that they feel like guys are always somewhere else, right? And what this requires you to be is 100% present when you're when you're with somebody, and not just even just a woman that you're interested in, but everybody at any time. Be thinking about how you're not quite present, right? Because guys are terrible at multitasking. We just can't do more than one thing at any time. We can't compartmentalize our life very effectively, right? So when we're in work mode, we're in work mode. When we're in play mode, we're in play mode. When we're with somebody, we should absolutely be with them. And so what happens is when you're texting at any time, or when you've got other kind of distractions on your mind that you haven't taken care of, then you're sort of pulling yourself away from being present in the moment. So do yourself a favor and just do a whole dump of all the stuff that you've got on your mind before you enter into an interaction with somebody. Write it down, put it, schedule time for it some other time, and just allow yourself to switch off from it. So a few things, a few ways that we can be more present is, one, turning off your phone, okay, or at least putting it on silent or do not disturb mode. That's often that little crescent moon button on the iPhone, where you can just like stop things from buzzing, stop things from making noises, and just make it silent so that you're not distracted. And sure, if you go to the restroom, you go for a break, then give yourself an opportunity to have a look through and make sure that you're on top of things if you need to do that. But my suggestion is that you turn everything off for the next couple of hours while you're with somebody, if you're on a date. And secondly, you need to make solid eye contact, right? Another frustration that I hear from women is that they'll be with a guy and he's just like talking away like this and looking here and looking somewhere else, and then feeling like he's somewhere else, right? So we connect through the eyes, make very strong use of eye contact, okay? And lastly, be genuinely curious about the person in front of you, right? Don't just be distracted and looking at the woman in front of you in terms of a physical object. No, be wanting to make a connection deeply with them, and having the presence of mind to be asking really, really good questions that dig deep into who they are as a person, and just do it from a place of genuine curiosity, right? And that's going to help you become more present. Number 3 is to demonstrate vulnerability. Like, women are constantly frustrated by guys who just feel like they're always hiding something or they're being coy, right? This is a good way to establish a lot of trust and very, very deep rapport and a very deep connection. Don't be afraid to express yourself and what's on your mind and what your past is about, who you are as a person, what your desires are, what you value in the world. Open yourself up. So develop the ability to also read your own emotional state and to be able to process that and to be able to communicate emotions. So, women are obviously a lot more capable when it comes to emotional communication, being able to understand and communicate emotions effectively. My challenge for you is to get better at this. Be feeling into yourself, right? And take yourself out of your head for the moment. Look into your heart and ask yourself, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? Oh, this is what I'm feeling. Okay, why am I feeling that? And why am I feeling that? And keep digging until you get to the bottom of it. So it's also going to allow you to be more to demonstrate vulnerability in a different level. And then finally, you want to open your heart, right? So open yourself, allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to be open to possibilities of connecting with somebody on something deeper than surface level, okay? Yes, it can be a scary place because, I'm sure, like everybody else, you've had your heart broken as well. But don't let that control you, right? Be open to feeling again. So demonstrating vulnerability, this is going to be key in building a very deep and strong connection with somebody. All right, so number 4 is to hold space, right? To hold space. So allow yourself to be vulnerable. So what you're doing is through the vulnerability, what you're doing is you're leading by example. You're allowing, and what you're doing is you're demonstrating that you're okay with that you're strong enough to express yourself in a vulnerable way, And through that, what you're doing is you're opening the door for the other person to walk through and actually do the same, right? You can allow somebody to be vulnerable in your space, and what you need to do is to hold space. So allow the woman to open herself up and release herself and surrender to you, right? So when they're opening up and being vulnerable, you need to be incredibly present. You need to be tuning into her emotional state and being that rock solid form that allows her to be expressive, to be open, and to feel safe. Okay, so holding space is really about, you know, creating this safe container so the other person can really release themselves and surrender into your space and feel like they're being protected and cared for, right? Because that is going to allow the woman to express themselves in their full emotional capacity, which is really, really where they're going to feel like they feel this freedom of being able to express themselves powerfully that most guys just cannot do for them, right? So that's where a woman will feel like they need to be guarded. So what you need to do, because women do feel guarded all the time, is that you need to create that safe space so that she can surrender and open, and then that becomes a really intoxicating way to build a connection with somebody that they're never going to want to let go of. Okay, so once again, you know, be that vulnerable person, create that space that where you're demonstrating it's okay to be that, and then be rock solid and just listen, right, and tune in. And then finally, number 5, like one of the biggest mistakes that I see guys make is that they're not decisive enough. So you need to be decisive, right? You need to stand up, you need to direct and be, not to be controlling, and not in a controlling way, but to lead a woman through the process of seduction and the process of courtship. You're leading them through an adventure, right? So if you take them on a date, make sure that you're calling the shots here, or at least you're making decisions and then asking for her opinion if she's cool with it or not, right? Mostly people will say whether they're not okay with something if they don't like the choice that's been given to them, right? You know, and don't be that guy who sits down in a restaurant and says, you know what? No, I'm going to order for her, because that's just being a bit of a dick, right? But in terms of, you know, say for example, if you ask a woman out on a date, ask her out on a date, right? Don't shy away from that. Stand up and take control and be leading her through that, right? Because a woman is going to be incredibly frustrated if she can't feel like you've got things handled. Because if you don't have things handled, then she is going to feel like she can't let go. And that means that you aren't holding space for her, right? And so she's never going to let go. She's never going to surrender. She's never going to be in her full feminine power. And so she's going to either resent you for that, or just not trust that you're the kind of guy who can handle her, okay? So things as subtle as, hey, you know what are you doing this Friday? I've got a free night. Would love to take you out somewhere. She says, great. She's open. Fantastic. Okay. Would you rather, do you like spicy food or something a little bit more Western? Western, great. I know this great steak place. Are you vegetarian? Okay. You're not vegetarian. Great. I know this awesome steak place. Do you like steak? Great. I really want to take you here. Like the most amazing steaks ever. You're just going to love me for it. They've got the most amazing wines there as well. And I'd love to take you there if you're cool with that. Great. Well, let's say, how about I pick you up at 7:30? Bang, done, right? So what you've done is that you've led her through the process of asking her out. You've made some decisions about where to eat. You've also factored in whether that's okay in line with her preferences or not. Because if it's not, and you're not even taking care to take note of those, then you're just going to come across as a self-centered, conceited person. So be making sure that you're tuning in, that you're pinging her to make sure that she's okay with the decisions you're making. But be be coming forth with options, right? So that she can switch off in the process. So all these things are going to make you come across as a solid, present, vulnerable guy who can hold space and who can lead a woman through a journey and an adventure of getting to know each other. And this is going to make you really powerful. It's going to make you very sexy in their eyes, and they're going to be incredibly attracted and turned on by you when you can do all this. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. I hope that this was a very insightful, very powerful video. I want you to go out now and implement this stuff. Be making sure that you're making use of this advice that I'm giving out here, because this stuff is absolute gold. And be tuning in for my other videos and be looking at my courses as well, where you get a whole lot more depth around what it is that I'm talking about. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.